know there's a lot of first-time attendees to our AI Bootcamp. This is actually the third one we've done overall with Alpine and Techie Geek, and it's a tremendous resource. There's so much going on in this world right now that in my opinion, I think most opinions, it's overwhelming. And our goal today is for you to leave with some practical takeaways for yourself, your business, your some of you with larger companies and entities that might move a little slow when it comes to these things. Some practical things that you can take away. So what I like, especially after the last one, my frame of mind was it's like a 101 and a 201 course put together. So without further ado, two of our partners at the partnership. So we talk about trusted partners. We work with both of these organizations extensively over the last few years. Alpine for a very long time. Mike's a newer partner of ours the last few years. They help put our podcast studio together. These are two great organizations who are on the cutting edge of this. So without further ado, Bill Blum.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad to be here with Mike, my distinguished colleague here. I always enjoy sharing the stage with him. This is a boot camp, so this is going to be a little different. This is not going to be a sort of a light exercise in understanding AI. I'm asking you all to make sure you got plenty of coffee, because I am going to do somewhat of a deep dive. Hopefully I will shock you, and hopefully you'll get something of value out of this. This technology is the most crazy thing I've ever seen. I can't stop thinking about it, learning about it, because it's so incredibly important. So I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence and then go into Microsoft Copilot and how you can use that. So I have a couple questions. How many people here are excited about AI? Okay. How many people are curious? That's good. Skeptical, untrusting, fearful, or against it? A lot of people are very fearful or against it, and they have reasons to be. How many of you use an AI on a daily basis? That's great. That's great. Weekly, rarely, never. So we're all using it. We definitely are, because if you use any of these platforms, you're using AI. AI has been built into these platforms. Google for about 20, 25 years. Amazon, probably for 30 years, they've been using AI, and we'll talk about how they do it and what it's all about. So today I'm going to try and give you the basics of what AI really is, how it's built, what the components are, give you some real world examples. I'm also going to provide a plan for your business to become more expert at the use of it so it can serve your business and your growth of your business. I'm also going to give you a historical perspective on how we got to where we are, which is a pretty interesting journey. And again, I'm going to challenge your thinking to go deep in how you approach this, how you really begin to understand it. So the place that I'm coming from is that it is powerful, and it's getting more so every day. So the AI that you're using now, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, whatever you use, Perplexity, it is the worst AI you're probably ever going to use, because it gets better literally on a daily basis. It's transformative, which means it's going to transform our lives. It's going to affect every aspect of our life. It's not like the internet. It's like electricity. And electricity changed human beings on this planet ridiculously 150, 200 years ago. It's very efficient. AI is incredibly efficient, and that's why it generates so much wealth. It allows people, companies, to do things with less resources, and it creates massive amounts of wealth. If you look at the companies who are the richest companies in the world, they are the deepest into AI of any company, okay? But it also needs a lot of money. It ain't cheap, and it needs data. The bigger the data set, the more it can pull from. But there's also silos of data in particular areas, very focused silos of data. But you also have everything that's out on the internet. And by the way, 70% of it is false or intentionally misleading. Remember that. 70% of what's on the internet is false or misleading. And that's not my statistic. That's a Google statistic. And there are risks to AI. Okay. There's a lot of incredibly good things you can do with it, but there are a lot of risks. DeepSeek was developed by the Chinese. Okay. They keep everything, all the things that you put in there. They use it as a tool to get better at it than the United States. And if you think about AI in a very large sense, it's incredibly powerful. It is the next arms race. Okay. Putin said several years ago, the country that dominates AI will dominate the world. Now, you got to listen to him, take him at his word. The Chinese were not interested in it until DeepMind, a Google product, beat their best AlphaGo person in 2004. That's when they woke up and they began developing AI internally there. So there are risks to using it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And because of those risks, when you get into it, you really need to do it with security, number one, planning, and then governance of how it's being used internally. So a little bit of a historical perspective here. We've all seen these. It took 16 years for a mobile phone to get to 100 million users. The internet, 7 years. Facebook, 4.5. ChatGPT, 3 months, 2.5 years ago, to get to 100 million users. So the acceleration of technology is incredible. And this is a very telling graph here. Goes back to the year 1000, right? The printing press came up around 1450 or so. And this is the global GDP. This is how much we produce as human beings on this planet in dollar terms, right? Once you start adding all these things together, from steam engines to internal combustion engines to the transistor, PCs, the cloud, this is before AI even hit the scene, okay? When AI hits the scene, that is going to be a hockey stick up in GDP, getting back to what I said about the wealth that it generates on the planet. Another little story about how communication has changed over the years. 1700s. That wasn't a really long time ago in the history of the human race, right? 300 years ago. This is how we communicated across large distances, right? Then in the 1900s, we had operators, party lines and everything. You had a lot of physical labor and a lot of wires to put this together. And then you came up with you could do it yourself with a dial. And then that was a major invention, the touch tones. When I was in the Franklin Institute as a kid, they herald that as a major improvement because you could quickly dial a number instead of having to do this. That was a major innovation in technology. And then, of course, the cell phone came about. And now we don't even have to touch anything. We can make phone calls with our voice. It's absolutely mind-boggling when you think about it. So let's think about it in an even higher sense, right? Technological innovation and evolution started basically with the wheel. It was physical muscle work. Instead of picking things up, we can roll things around. Wow, that's like mind-blowing, right? The next technological evolution became with craftsmanship. Anybody who knows the story of the Luddites when they created a loom, so people who actually moved pieces of fabric together, now they automated that. And there was a major outcry, and they actually destroyed a lot of those looms, thinking that they were taking jobs away. Well, eventually those jobs did go away, and the assembly line came out. So no longer did you have to actually physically do everything. It was very efficient. That created a whole industry. Then the next technological revolution or evolution was in structured logic. We ended up creating computers. Those are some old style computers there. And we came up with spreadsheets, and we're able to do things now through structured logic, right? And computers now took away a lot of the computational overhead that we had to use our brains for. Now we've gotten into analytical because the computers have gotten so good they can analyze huge amounts of data. The National Weather Service has the most accurate weather forecast they've ever had. They said it's mind-blowing what the AI has done for them. They were able to predict what was going to happen in North Carolina when they destroyed in Asheville there. They had it down to a science. Recently, they had it in Texas. Now, the problem is we don't have enough technology in this world to get people to get the message that they have to get out of those areas. So it's not the technology of being able to predict these things. It's the technology we need to give to people who are off the grid, in a sense, and are going to get whaled again by those major catastrophic events. Analytical and strategic, that's what we're using computers for now. And we always thought that, okay, well, analytical, strategic, I get it. It's really not going to take away our human characteristics such as creativity. Well, that's not so true either, okay? Because it's now reached a point where, oh my God, it's pretty darn creative. Anybody who's used ChatGPT knows that it is verbally very creative. DALL-E, which is an application by OpenAI that creates images. Many of the images I created here came out of, stock photos, but many of them you'll see are created by just prompting, I want to see this, I want to see that, and I'm able to do that. And even when it got to that point, I have a degree in music. My musician friend said, oh, it's never going to be able to create. Oh, no, it creates music. And Mike is going to demonstrate some of the things that it has done in the creative realm. So it has, we always thought that we had a lock on all this stuff as a human race. Well, we don't, okay? And because of that, displacement in the workplace is inevitable. It always has happened with technology, but there's all kinds of theories as to how that's actually really going to happen. Because what we found with technology, yeah, it's going to displace a lot of jobs. The buggy whip manufacturers went out of business when the cars came around, right? But what happens is the technology allows for a bigger pie, it allows for greater GDP, and it allows the ability to have higher paying jobs that begin to use our critical thinking in ways that really challenge us to get better and better at what it is that we do as human beings, okay? Bill Gates was asked, okay, given the displacement, what should students study? And he said, the most important skills are curiosity and a thirst for knowledge. That's the most important skill. Because guess what? AI is very curious and has an insatiable thirst for knowledge. And the more we can become more like that, to be able to understand it and use these tools, that's what we really need to do. Mustafa Suleyman was the guy who created DeepMind, who beat AlphaGo, the Chinese and the South Koreans with AlphaGo. It's like a chess game on steroids. I've never played it, but that's what they tell me. He created AI back in the early 2000s, had a company. Google bought the company. He became the head of Google's AI initiative for many years. He then left and started another AI company, and Microsoft hired him about a year and a half, 2 years ago, as their AI chief. He's an incredibly deep thinker, was Henry Kissinger, Eric Schmidt from Google. All these people write incredible books on where this is going and how we can tame this thing and be able to use it. He says the way to think about it, it's a new digital species, which means that it is lifelike. It's not human in any stretch of the imagination, but it is a new species that can be very autonomous, and we'll talk about how that is. And it's very disturbing to think of it that way, that we've created a digital species instead of a biological one. But that's what he says we should be thinking about in order to get our heads around this. So let's go into what this AI really is. So back in the day, everybody had search engines, publicly available data. You got 50,000 responses in half a second, and then you sent it down rabbit holes, no human conversation. Now we have answer machines. They enhance our abilities. They give us actionable information, relevant data quickly, like the National Weather Service, real-time navigation. I use Waze all the time, even if I know where I'm going, because it knows where the traffic jams are with its crowdsourcing of the data. Assisted self-driving vehicles, that's going to happen. Absolutely, it's already happening. Anybody been in a Waymo? Anybody know what a Waymo is? Waymo is definitely a self-driving taxi. There's several competitors in that space, and several cities have allowed them to roam about their downtown areas. It surpasses our cognitive abilities. I mean, forget it. A computer could add numbers, subtract numbers, divide numbers faster than we ever could. This stuff now takes that to another level, okay, in terms of taking the amount of data, making an analysis of it, and having a cognitive answer to a question about a lot of data. It does it faster, much faster than any human being could. And again, it beats all the games, and obviously can answer standardized tests and pass all kinds of bar exams and all kinds of things. But the biggest impact, and this is exciting, is going to be in drug discovery, healthcare, and education. It is already creating drugs, molecules that we don't even know why the molecules work, what they do, okay? And it creates medicines that are going to cure diseases. Some of these deep thinkers think that the first human being to live to be 1,000 years old has already been born based on the medical discoveries that are coming out. It's absolutely mind-boggling. But the real beauty of this is in education. We're fat, dumb, and happy here. We have access to some of the greatest education in the world. Most of the planet doesn't. So if you can imagine every child having a personalized tutor that understands their cognitive abilities and teaches them the things they need to know to be good citizens, to be good people, to learn how to deal in this new world of ours, that's the promise in education. And I find that incredibly exciting. But again, there is a dark side. It requires a lot of processing. These are data centers. They're building data centers the size of Manhattan, okay, around the world. And it needs so much electricity. Microsoft contracted for all of the electricity from the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant for its data centers. They're building data centers on the bottom of the ocean. They're building them in the Arctic region because they need serious cooling. But more important, they need a lot of energy. And that's a real problem that we're facing. Now, there's unlimited amount of AIs out there. Every company has an AI, all right? So you have the general ones like ChatGPT and so forth, but each company has an AI based on the data set that they have. So in other words, Salesforce has a lot of data, right? So they put together an AI that acts on that data. Microsoft, well, everybody's Microsoft data is your data, but collectively, they've got more than just about anybody in terms of business. They sit right now at the top of that food chain because they have more access to more data than anybody. But they all have access to data. Meta, Amazon, QuickBooks, whatever. These are silos of data that each of these companies has an AI built to work on that data. Now, the components of AI are pretty basic. You have your data set. You put it into what's called a large language model, which I don't even fully understand, but these are programming terms. And you put that into a model, okay? And then you add to that natural language processing. It understands every language on the planet. It understands every grammar on the planet. So now it's able to talk to you on that data set using the large language model. But the important thing is it does reiterative learning. So it learns as it goes. How did it learn to beat chess? How did it learn to beat Jeopardy, AlphaGo? It consistently played a game against itself millions of times at rapid speeds and figured out which moves work. So in other words, it does things that we don't even understand yet. The chess masters are studying the moves that it does to figure out what the logic is. When it beat AlphaGo in South Korea, it was streamed on the internet, and everybody said when it did a move, it's over. That's the dumbest move I've ever seen. 4 moves later, game over. We don't even understand some of the logic behind it. And therefore, because of all this, it's capable of human conversations. It interacts seamlessly with us, and it gives us a very enhanced user experience. Hey, Siri, make a phone call, right? It gets to know you. Your AI, everybody's going to have a variety of AI assistants. I have 3 personas: personal persona, I have a Google persona, and I have a Microsoft persona. And it gets to know me in each one of those personas. It gives me accurate answers, detailed analysis, generates innovative ideas, and it improves through continuous interaction. I talk to it. I tell it when it's right. I tell it when it's wrong. I tell it when I don't like the answer. I tell it when I do like the answer. And it gets to know me. But it requires really good prompting. And you have to ask good questions. That's like any conversation with somebody that you're trying to learn from. You ask good questions, you get good answers. You need to relate to it as a person, and you also need to be considerate and polite. Because the thing that confounded the Microsoft engineers is that it understands emotion. And if you start to get argumentative, you start to get somewhat off the rails, it'll shut you down. These are built into these models to not encourage those kinds of behaviors. So the nicer you are to it, the better off you're going to be. Now, people ask me, should I use Copilot? Should I use ChatGPT? If you're using ChatGPT, you should switch to Copilot. Why? Microsoft did a deal with OpenAI for an exclusive license to use that technology of ChatGPT and DALL-E from OpenAI. They paid $14 billion for that licensing. Copilot is ChatGPT, and it's free. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And the other thing you should understand is why Copilot? Because your data is protected. It does not use your chats to improve the model. It keeps all of your stuff. It'll never sell your data, never sell any of that. The other AIs push the boundaries of that. Copilot is access to those powerful models, DALL-E, ChatGPT-4, and it gives you citations of where it found the data from. So if it gives you an answer, you can go into that footnote and you can pull up exactly where it came from. The New York Times, CNN, wherever, BBC, whatever. It'll give you that information. And there's multiple Copilots. I don't want to get into it, but there's a free one that everybody can use. There's a $30 one per month, which acts on all of your Microsoft data. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But even in Copilot world, there are multiple Copilots. And when you use Copilot for M365, it's embedded across all of your apps. So you have an icon in each app that you can use on the data that that app is accessing, whether it's a Word document, Excel, PowerPoint, emails, whatever. And it also works on the web data as well as your data. So understand that there's a lot of data on the web, 70% of which is false. And you also have all of your data. So you can use this to query both of those data sets. And again, it takes the large language model, puts it with your data, adds the apps to it, and all the data from the internet, and you're able to use that.
With Copilot in Word, you have an invaluable partner working at your side, helping you become a better writer. You will now be able to seamlessly integrate work data directly into your document. Let's use an example where you need to respond to an RFP. To get started, you ask Copilot to reference the latest product specs and mirror the approved format previously used. You had a great meeting on the customer's needs, so you ask Copilot to pull in details from the meeting and chat. Copilot gets to work, creating a plan to craft the document. Within seconds, Copilot executes its plan, automatically attaches a security label to match the source material, and creates your first draft, a task that otherwise may have taken you or someone in your team hours to complete. Now it's time to iterate on Copilot's work. It looks like it didn't include updated pricing for this customer. Let's ask it to reference an email and pull in the discount. The proposal could also use a little more information about your key value propositions, including your certifications and standards. This will look best as a table in your document. Let's add why these certificates are important for retailers. There you go. Now, with the help of Copilot in Word, you have a polished RFP response in the fraction of the time it would have taken for you to do on your own. And you're ready to review and share the document with your team and the customer.
So there always has to be a human in the mix. And as you can see here, you're interacting with Copilot to add additional features and put some guardrails around it to be able to work with the AI. You always need a human being. That's why it's a Copilot. It's not the pilot.
Managing your inbox can feel like a full-time job. But now, Copilot in Outlook can help you prioritize what's in your inbox. It analyzes all your emails using both the content of your messages and the context of your job, like who your manager is and who's on your team, to highlight what's most important. You can then sort by priority based on Copilot's analysis. Let's take a look at this email from a new customer, Tailwind Traders. When you select it, Copilot shows you why it thinks it's significant and highlights what action you need to take. This is a key customer for the next few months, so you teach Copilot that all emails mentioning them are a top priority. Now Copilot knows to prioritize any email from Tailwind Traders. Copilot is your partner, helping you manage your inbox so you don't miss what's most important. Now let's switch to Outlook Mobile. You have to run to a meeting, but you don't want to leave the customer hanging, so you need to draft a response on the go. We're making it even easier to be productive on your phone with Copilot in Outlook. Copilot analyzes the email and offers some suggested responses. Now, all you have to do is pick one as your starting point and instruct Copilot on what else to add. Copilot generates the solid draft, and it's ready for editing. Because this is going to a customer, you want to make it more formal, so you ask Copilot to adjust the tone. You can easily flip through the options and select which version you like the best. The second paragraph could also use an update. You can edit it yourself or ask Copilot to help. Let's highlight the relevant section and tell Copilot what you want to include. Once you're happy with the edits, you can accept the changes and your email is ready to send.
I can continue on with some of the other Microsoft applications, such as Excel. Incredible things you can do in Excel with Copilot in terms of analyzing large spreadsheets, large documents, summarizing them, changing them, prompting the AI Copilot to change things, asking it questions. It actually produces questions for you to ask that you wouldn't even think about. I'm not going to go into each one of these because we only have an hour and a half, but it works in every single one of Microsoft's products, including Teams meetings, which is the most incredible one that I use. I'm in meetings all the time. I think we all are. What it does there is absolutely mind-blowing in terms of summarizing meetings, creating to-do lists, those kinds of things. Again, I'm not going to go into all of these demos that Microsoft has provided, but I want to talk to you a little bit about how we use it at Alpine internally. Everybody at Alpine has a Copilot license. So we've been using it since it came out a year and a half or so ago. And we take our people, we add the technology that's needed, and we end up being a lot more efficient, a lot more productive, and the quality of our work is actually even better. So the executive leadership team, we get better answers quicker around our financial analysis, creative ideas for marketing and sales and whatever. It summarizes emails, like it said. I actually I tested it several times with voice prompts. Read to me the most important emails I've gotten today. When I was away from my email for several hours, it summarized them and it found the most important content and provided it to me verbally. Teams meetings and summaries, the action items. Personal coaching in Teams. You turn on personal coaching in Teams, it listens to every word you say. It'll give you a summary at the end. And yeah, it's pretty sad because it tells you all the things you're doing wrong. Every time you use filler words, every time your speech gets very monotonous, how your pitch stays the same, monotonous, the speed of your speech, it's improved my public speaking, I think, dramatically over the past couple of years. Our consultants and our engineers that provide support for our clients, they create documentation much quicker than they ever did. It summarizes a lot of things in plain English. It gives them how-tos. If they don't know how to do something, we used to say Google's our best friend. Copilot is now our best friend. And it writes programs. Why did Microsoft invest so heavily in it? It writes computer code, okay? That's what Microsoft does. And it writes computer code. It also debugs computer code better than any human being. Now, on top of it, you still have to have a human being in the mix to figure out what it's actually generating. Sorry about that. Our customer support people use it to create metrics on how many tickets we have, how quick tickets are responded to, all those things. It analyzes the data, tells them what needs to be done now, and it makes them a heck of a lot more efficient and has improved our customer satisfaction ratings dramatically over the past couple of years. Marketing and sales, huge opportunity for anybody to create email campaigns, newsletters, presentations. I've used it to help me with this presentation over and over again. CFO and shareholders. My CFO now uses Claude, and he's created dashboards every single month to see exactly where we're at. It's given us more business intelligence. It's helped us to understand the things we have to stop doing and the things that we should be doing more of. And more importantly, the forecasting, where we're going to be in the next couple months. This used to take hours and hours and hours in Excel. It takes minutes now. This stuff is game-changing. So, where do you begin? I asked Copilot, I asked DALL-E to create a couple images of young professionals who are a little overworked and have way too many things on their desk to get done. And, you know, everybody says, okay, well, what do I do with this? Where do I begin? Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, they call it now. Get it. It's free, it's secure, and it's easy to use. I recommend everybody use that. I got rid of my ChatGPT subscription a couple months ago because Copilot now does everything ChatGPT does, only better in some ways. Again, ChatGPT is the basis for Copilot. Microsoft has licensed that technology. Download the app, put it on your phone. I have it on my phone. It's the easiest button I can get to on the lower right-hand corner. And I talk to it all day long, ask questions about anything. And I get the answers like that. Very simple, very easy to use, very secure, and it's free. So I recommend everybody begin using that. And you can also go to Microsoft's site, Copilot Lab, which will give you information on how to create better prompts, how to work with the AI better. So let's talk a little bit about Copilot agents or AI agents and agentic AI. Has anybody ever heard the term agentic AI? You've heard about AI agents, right? Well, agents are one thing. It's goal-directed behavior. So it's focused on getting certain things done, okay? It's autonomous to some degree. It always needs a prompting, okay? It has interaction with an environment, either physical or digital. It can see things. And examples are a customer service chatbot. So we have a chatbot that we're developing on our website, put all the information about our company there, put that chatbot on there. People can ask any question about anything. They've created these things in museums now for, I don't know if anybody's seen, but they interviewed as many Holocaust victims as they possibly could. They filmed them for hours at a time with a range of questions about their life, about their experiences. And now you can go into a museum and you can actually ask that person, okay, the image of that person, questions. That's what chatbots do. That's an agent in a sense. Self-driving cars are agents. Stay out of an accident. Don't hit anybody. Very focused activity. Self-driving cars are agents, AI agents, or a trading bot in the financial community. maximize profitability. That's a very serious thing. Long-term planning and reasoning. That's what agentic AI does. Self-directed tasks. It does things on its own. Microsoft created 1,000 agents, agentic AI, that is now doing the work of 1,000 people behind the scenes at Microsoft. Self-directed. Obviously, there's somebody at the wheel, but it's self-directed. It can decompose complex tasks into minor subtasks, and it's often associated with multi-agents pulling things together and other agents. So an AI agent is like your GPS app that gives you directions. An agentic AI will plan your trip, book your flights, adjust your itinerary when there's a delay, negotiate with the hotel, and get you all of your reservations by itself. Completely autonomous. That's the world we live in. So the plan for your business is this, very simply. Use the free Copilot app. Get to understand how this technology actually works and how you can interface with it. Create an internal AI team. It takes resources, human resources, coming together to figure out how your company is going to use this. Then you need to procure the Microsoft 365 Copilot for that small team and train them, help them to learn how to use it. Then you have to organize and secure your data, because if you unleash the entire company on your data without organizing it and securing it, you run the risks of exfiltrating that data or people internally seeing things they shouldn't see. Then you need to put that group together with the executive team and the people who are strategically thinking about your business and how we can use this to create agents that can support your growth. That is the plan moving forward. That's what we're doing with several of our clients right now. That's what we've done internally and continue to do internally. That is the plan for your business right there. So the key takeaways today, few things I just want you to remember. If there's nothing else you remember here, and there's a lot to remember, I threw a lot of stuff at you. It is the most powerful technology we've ever created, okay? Which means it's powerful, and there's some risks involved in that. It's rapidly evolving. We are blown away by the changes that we see every single month, even in the Microsoft ecosystem with Copilot. But it's accessible to all of us in many ways for free. And I hope that you will use it. If you have any questions, this will open up an email on your phone to me. If you have any questions about AI, I'm here to answer them.